Venka, my former work colleague from before The Big Short, she needs our help. She was a caregiver to her adopted mother for years. In 2016, Venka suffered a stroke. It's been quite difficult for her on many levels ever since. To learn more and discover how you can hero tier by helping Venka, go to markromanempire.com, click Venka. And what about the free Lieutenant Frank autograph photo? Conditions apply, but they are easy and groovy. You can't hero tier without her. Venka is a her. Find out what it's all about at markromanempire.com. Click Venka. You know what? This podcast is bursting at the seams, so let's go. You're nobody till somebody loves you. Spreading the news like mayonnaise on toast. The policy of truth. Gary, I have a mission for you. Eastbound and down, loading up and truck 'em. Flux capacitor? Okay. But let me tell you about that time I drove a cab. Money, that's something. Chicks that read. I want my Mark TV. First, you're not on TV. Podcast. Now, that is some weird and wild stuff. Did you know that, Ed? Yes! Oh, please don't drop me home, because it's not my home, it's their home, and I'm welcome no more. Well, Robin attended Juilliard. I attended Hillsdale. I'm a graduate of the San Francisco Comedy College. I've traveled the Midwest quite extensively. I lived through The Big Short and I had a pretty good time doing that. I've seen Pat Robertson jabber about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact you're talking to a subversive. So what do you think? Do you think I'm qualified?
Oh, well, I think we'll need to pray about that and ask your father.
Shut up, Marilyn! Just eat it. Just eat it. The Mark Roman Empire. Also, a podcast. It's showtime. Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, take a look at the grove and spend. Commerce glistens once again with candy canes and merchant faces aglow. Sure, it's Christmas once more. Well, that was my Markioke of It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas by Johnny Mathis. Slightly edited. Hey, Halloween's over. Got that time change. It's darker now, colder now. Election's over. And I heard at the Chinese Theater yesterday the themes to GoldenEye, Die Hard, and then Let It Snow under a sunny, smoggy, bluish Hollywood sky. Hey, I had to wear long pants and a hoodie tonight. Apparently, it's that time. You know, the holidays. Or, for those sore that a woman will now be Speaker of the House of Representatives, 'tis the season for what homeless people? What do you mean rape? Why do you need health care? Focus, patriots. 'Tis the season to defend against the war on Christmas and advocate for the less fortunate, like Brad and Judy, who can't find their Tiffany crystal baby Jesus in a manger display at their home in Tahoe. No, the new one with the infinity pool and better view. I blame the help. Alice Coe is on the podcast today. The Alice Coe. She sings. She acts. She plays the piano. She acts on screen and stage. She speaks Cantonese and a little Mandarin. And we know each other from San Francisco days, San Francisco nights. The location, not the Chris Isaak tune. Oh, hi there. I'm Mark Roman. Mark who? Mark Roman. You know, like the Empire. We'll chat with my friend and near neighbor, Alice, in a moment. We are at the world-famous Musicians Institute here in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard, carefully nestled between a Tom Cruise Scientology hostel and a golden fast food fort on your way to the Ripley's Believe It or Not tourist trap. We are safely within stumbling distance of the legendary Pig and Whistle, as well as Jameson's Irish Pub, where everyone knows Lieutenant Frank's name. Ollie, my faithfully proper British companion, is dutifully hovering over the soundboard at this very moment. Hey, how many shopping days until Boxing Day, Ollie? Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. I mean, he's British. I thought he'd know. That seemed reasonable, right? Do you hero tier? Like gag me with a spoon. What's like a hero tier? Is that like when Iron Man cries? No, but close. As the one who coined the term, let me read my definition from my dusty old site, herotier.org. Hero tier. To freely offer without condition, to courageously tap one's inner hero to help another human survive and become a hero as well. And way back in 2015, I wrote this update. HeroTier.org, reborn, the definition and social network. Hi, it's Mark, creator of HeroTier.org, with a long overdue and possibly rambling update. Sorry. Clearly, we did not feed 56,000 hungry in LA Thanksgiving 2012. But I did try to do something with the resources available to me. As a working artist in Los Angeles, I help serve free Thanksgiving meals organized by an NGO in the Echo Park neighborhood. Dozens doesn't equal 56,000. I'm not very impressed with me. But then, I'm no Bill Gates, Angelina Jolie, or Oprah. Managing significant resources like a Warren Buffett or a Donald Trump is not a daily concern of mine. Truth is, I've been in survival mode since 2007, when I abandoned a collapsing mortgage industry I was never really into and pursued my heart's desire to entertain. Frankly, I'm looking forward to when I can next visit my son. Life circumstances forced me to put HeroTier.org on the back burner as I focused on my work as a performance artist. And the post rambles on. I'll put a link in the show notes or look for it at HeroTier.org. I do say this, though. How can HeroTier.org help? The subversive journalist within me, the one that motivated me to publish an independent student newspaper and refused to shut it down, encourages me to take the next steps with my idea of the, quote, hero tier. So I reference an early iteration of this very podcast. The podcast, it would take another 3 years to escape from Las Vegas and actually start. And now, the events of the last week suggest it's time for me to dust off HeroTier.org and put it to some timely use. Last night, the much-anticipated midterm election happened. As predicted, the Democrats won a majority in the House of Representatives, and several people, in my eyes, hero-tiered. All the women who ran for Congress. Several who even won. According to CBS News earlier today, 84 women serve in Congress now, and at least 95 have won or are projected to win, including the first Native American women elected to Congress, Deb Haaland of New Mexico and Sharice Davids of Kansas, who's also the first openly LGBT member of Congress from Kansas. The first Muslim woman in the House, who happens to also replace men facing accusations of sexual misconduct. There's sexual misconduct, sorry. There are two. Rashida, hopefully I can pronounce her name correctly here. Is it Tlaib? Rashida Tlaib. I'm sorry, Rashida, if I'm mispronouncing your name. Now the Honorable Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. She's newly elected to Congress. Also, Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. And Ilhan Omar is also the first to wear a hijab elected to Congress, the first Somali American member of Congress, and the first refugee. Yeah, sorry, fake tycoon with the orange shroom. There's a refugee in Congress elected by Americans. Deal. We also have the first woman to serve in the House. The youngest women to serve in the House. They're both 29 millennials. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York and Abby Finkenauer of Iowa. We have the first Latinas to represent Texas in Congress. Veronica Escobar in El Paso and Sylvia Garcia in East and North Houston. There's the first women representing their respective states. Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee and Cindy Hyde-Smith, who will remain the first woman to represent Mississippi if she wins the runoff. She was appointed to replace Thad Cochran earlier this year. And finally, the first woman of color elected to represent their respective states, Johanna Hayes of Connecticut and Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts. Again, ladies, honorable ladies, now that you're in Congress, I apologize if I mispronounced anyone's name. I haven't had your name in front of me all the time, and people have been texting me because you're not in my district. But I need to be better educated. That's my bad. I apologize. Congress in the House has 435 seats, with women in 95 of those seats. That's only 21.8%. The 2010 U.S. Census reflects a 50.8% female population. If Congress actually democratically represented the population, women would be in 221 seats. So if the misogyny of Congress had a number, that new, slightly less offensive number after the midterms would be 126. There are 126 seats in Congress held by men. They are the leftover patriarchy clinging to power. There's more men, but those guys are the ones that are clearly the problem. So which men? I don't know. There's another election in 2 years, but they are the evidence we do not yet live in a democracy, even a representative democracy for all the politics nerds. Hey, I used to be one. You can't hero tier without her. Last night, while others tracked the early election results, I saw the last 2 episodes of the final season of House of Cards. My reason to get Netflix in the first place. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, the one without Kevin Spacey. Hey, didn't miss him. Not for a second. And I was a huge fan. But Robin Wright, she hero tiered. Yeah, Robin Wright. Not the Princess Bride. Not Sean Penn's or Forrest Gump's ex. Robin Wright, the general of Amazon. Wonder Woman's aunt. Mentor in hand-to-hand combat dojo. Robin Wright. Claire, the vice president on House of Cards, who became president. Robin Wright, the executive producer, who decided the final season without Kevin had to happen. A lot of people had jobs. They were already planning to do this season anyways. She decided it was worth it. She did it. Robin Wright, the director of the final episode. I think she did a lot of other stuff with House of Cards too. Those are the things that immediately caught my eye. Fellas, you may need to reevaluate everything you thought you knew about Robin Wright and women in general. In California, Proposition 10, the rent control initiative, was defeated by real estate money. Fellow SAG-AFTRA actor Kendall Mayhew of Ground Game LA provides perspective in a Facebook post today. She says, I want to give folks a bit of context about Prop 10 because I see a lot of reactions that indicate to me that some context might be helpful in processing the vote count and also for moving forward productively. There are lessons to be learned from the electoral loss, to be sure, but in so many ways, we have won. Forcing our opponent to spend nearly $100 million to defend their bullshit is a win. Watching as our opposition literally took our messaging because they knew that their values and motivations were so sinister that they could not win by voicing them, forcing the hand of legislators who repeatedly kicked the can down the road on this element of the housing crisis by demanding attention with a proposition is a win. Letting people who are in immediate crisis because of housing see that they are not alone, and there is a shit ton of us on their side. Property owners and respectable landlords who came out in support for us, campaigning with us, and making public statements and voting for yes, despite a $100 million propaganda machine preying on their own economic insecurities. Getting endorsements from major city councils and other prominent elected officials in the cities most impacted by landlord greed is a win. Building a massive grassroots coalition of community organizations across many, many cultural intersections is an incredible win. Public housing residents and Section 8 residents campaigned hard with us, even though their communities wouldn't benefit from Prop 10 directly. As always, these woman-led communities of color, many of whom are undocumented folks, demonstrated through their word and deed the true meaning of solidarity. Having thousands upon thousands of conversations with folks where most were talking for the first time about their personal economic struggles with people outside their family or inner circle is a profound win. In general, creating a culture where it is acceptable to shout that your rent is too high and your corporate landlord is your enemy is a win. Turning out thousands of young and otherwise first-time voters specifically because they had a chance to vote yes on Prop 10 and thereby bullying many candidates in swing districts. I'm specifically referencing Katie Hill, where I was working, who I believe just won, is a win we may be talking about more. Honestly, there are a lot more positives I'll be taking away from this list. The housing crisis isn't going anywhere, and thank God, neither is the momentum toward revolt against the elite corporate ruling class that has demonstrated that their values are not only morally lacking, but not even remotely marketable. We are in good shape when the enemy demonstrably can't win on the truth or even their vision. I believe that we will win. Hashtag housing is a human right. Hashtag mass liberation. Hey, for more on that and other groovy stuff to make the world a better place from Kendall and other like minds, visit knock.la and groundgamela.org. Kate Willett is a comedian from the San Francisco Bay Area. Now she's in New York City. She's on the Netflix show, The Comedy Lineup. I don't know if we met while performing at a comedy club in the Bay Area or not. I'm not even sure if we ever met in person. We are Facebook friends. Now, a few weeks ago, I started seeing some alarming posts from Kate about podcasters Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti. Apparently, she agreed to appear on their podcast, knowing little about it, which is very common in the industry, especially when you are a working artist trying to get out there and promote what you are doing. Quickly into the podcast, called In Hot Water, Kate found all the sexism, misogyny, not to mention homophobia and racism, a bit much. She chose to leave early during the podcast. You know, like when Letterman on Norm Macdonald's Netflix show recently turned to Norm and said, "You're a child," then stood up and walked out while the show was still taping. Do I have to ask? Is that response only appropriate for a David Letterman? Apparently I do. Here's the first bit of a recent Facebook post from Kate. A week ago, Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconti said they would stop harassing me and inciting rape threats towards me on their podcast. I guess they changed their mind, because here's Gino openly burning a cease and desist letter for stalking, harassment, and attempting to incite violence. A friend of mine called Aaron, and he promised to stop this crap. But I guess they are truly out of ideas for their show, and maybe harassing me is the thing their rabid listeners enjoy the most. They don't care that they are endangering me, and they don't care that they are breaking the law. Her post continues, but that's enough for me to make a decision. I reposted her post on Facebook and added the following. This is my personal Facebook. This is a little walled garden. If you want to go to Facebook, for those of you who don't know me personally, you got to go to Mark Oman Empire page on Facebook. This was on my personal page. This is what men in America in 2018 find funny. I don't. Comedian Kate Willett deserves none of this horror. This reality TV Kavanaugh culture with a K has got to go. I've never heard of Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconte. They are blacklisted from anything I do. If you want to be on my Mark Roman Empire podcast or anything I produce or influence, realize these alleged criminals and their supporters, enablers, fans, and guests, except for Kate, she got caught in the crossfire, are not welcome in my world. Kate Willett, you are hilarious. Well done with the Netflix special. Good job. That was awesome. You are welcome on my podcast anytime. Please check with my past female guests, Ashley Mary Nunez, Deborah Hayden, Stephanie Estes, Ursilia Pompilio, Vaze Davis just last week. Check with them first. I also welcome and encourage any independent commission run by women comics to investigate and rate my podcast as to its safety impact on women as guidance for future female guests. Because apparently our civilized America requires that. And stop voting for all those male judges and politicians who aid and abet this horrific misogyny. Men, stop asking yourself, what would my fraternity president do? Start asking, what would Whoopi Goldberg or Oprah Winfrey or Ellen DeGeneres do? Does your stomach also turn at the behavior of Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconte? Did I mention the part where they repeatedly, which their fans echoed, talked about raping Kate with a railroad spike? Yeah. Classy, huh? How about this? Would you like to make a difference for Kate? Go to markromanempire.com and click Kate. There you'll find a few of my ideas. You can't hero tier without her. Aaron Berg and Gino Bisconte are dangerous children, worthy of possibly multiple criminal investigations by the FBI, NYPD, and perhaps other local authorities. These two also desperately need education on how to behave, period. Not only as men, but just how to behave, how to be gentlemen. They will have to answer for their actions and any crimes they may have committed. They are currently exiled from the Mark Roman Empire. But I believe there is a path of redemption for them. I have ideas on that as well. Aaron and Gino may not like those ideas, but they lack authority in civilized society. Yet, they do have followers like Daryl Hammond and Samantha Bee on Twitter. as recently as a few days ago. Maybe they've unfollowed by now. I don't know. I called them out on Twitter a few days ago. If they still follow, can we ask why? Go to markromanempire.com and click Kate for more info. Also, hey, Joe Rogan, you famously took out Carlos Mencia to task for stealing jokes. What, might there be a role for you here? I mean, besides appearing in a photo with Aaron Berg in his Twitter? I'm just asking, Joe. I'm still not quite sure about you, but like Mulder, I want to believe. We are sponsored by Hollywood Vegas 90210, a.k.a. Vegas 90210, Lieutenant Frank, as hired by a California Highway Patrol lieutenant for a recent birthday party, as hired by a wedding party, seeking a grand entry from limo to the Bellagio in Vegas. Lieutenant Frank, Hollywood Cap, Beetlejuice, Ron Burgundy, more. About your Halloween, or, well, Halloween's now past, there's some more holiday parties coming up. You can do something fun for Thanksgiving. Not to mention grand openings, surprise deliveries, or singing telegrams. Got any characters of Vegas 90210? Book one today at Vegas90210.com. Oh, hey. Want $5? While supporting this podcast, try Cash App. I did. So did my CHP birthday lieutenant. He linked a debit card and sent at least $5 via Cash App. In fact, he paid his deposit to hire Lieutenant Frank with Cash App. Then $5 was instantly added to his Cash App account. Use my code WKXRVBX and support me and earn your $5. I don't appear in photos with misogynist dudes. You can do this all with Cash App, available in your app store. Also sponsored by Eladon Designs. Hey, there's gotta be a better way to travel with your shoes. Now there is. The trademarked Ultimate Shoe Bag by Eladon Designs. Travel your shoes easier. Up to 8 pairs at a time, many styles to choose. To view the commercial and demo video, go to elladondesigns.com. Hey, save 10% when you use discount code ROMAN at checkout. elladondesigns.com. Tiger's Blood, winning. This week's Mark Roman Empire, also a podcast, Best Listener Contest winner is Veronica Porras. She's up there in Portland producing some cool sober comedy shows. Check it out. Veronica, you won an autographed Lieutenant Frank fire hydrant photo. To receive your prize, Veronica, email your shipping address to romanpodmail@gmail.com. Veronica was selected from visitors of the donate page at markromanempire.com. Who will next week's winner be? Will they be selected from followers of Mark Roman Podcast on SoundCloud? Or from subscribers of Mark Roman Empire on YouTube? Or something else? To ensure you don't miss out on any of the possibilities, go to markromanempire.com and click support. This week's Best Listener Contest passphrase is: Alice Coe was not in Kung Fu Piano, but you are close. Speaking of Facebook posts, I also noticed some from my mortgage days colleague. I got kicked out of college, but I have colleagues. I've had colleagues as well. Venka was my colleague back before the days of The Big Short. She's been through quite a bit lately. Let me just read her GoFundMe. I think she's got a new post as of today, but the previous one gives you an idea what's going on here. Update. 12NOV2018. Hi, this is Venka, and this is what I'm dealing with. In 11/29/16, I suffered a vascular lucarnar, if I'm pronouncing that right, stroke in Contra Costa County. Today, I received a medical diagnosis and explanation by Neurovascular Services of UCSF. 28 days short of 2 years. No one even told me in Contra Costa or referred me to doctors who would. I was told I had a minor stroke by a neurologist and that I needed to see a psychiatrist. The doctors at UCSF shook their heads. There was a lot of, including that aspirin that wasn't prescribed. There was a lot of that. The aspirin wasn't prescribed until 6/2018 by Stanford Medical. The reason I decided not to return to Contra Costa for medical advice, they could have killed me. At least I didn't have another stroke. They threw enough meds at me, just not the best or most efficient ones. I have a lot of work ahead of me, and that means relocating my muscle memory of what I used to do, which starts with basic math. I'm an accountant, a finance analyst, and do foreign exchange, but find grade school math a challenge now. The result of a vascular lacunar stroke. I also have cognitive issues, logic/analytic delays, aphasia, and pseudo-bulbar effect, to name just a few. Dyslexia doesn't help, and I have that too. Now, I am broke, single, divorced, childless, and I was adopted by immigrants. So no family here, and barely there. At least one half who are offended that I speak truthfully about my bitch of an adopted mother who caused this to happen. There's an asterisk on the I of bitch. I think we know what she's talking about. I have filed for Social Security, which I will no doubt qualify for now that I have a very qualified diagnosis. I'm hoping for $20,000 over time, as this will see me through a year of life. Taking into consideration, I receive food stamps and general assistance and will have to repay. And it is desperate times for me, as the manager of my main storage unit is getting close to locking me out and selling my stuff at auction. As of November 1st, I owe them $900, and they would not accept a partial payment. I had $600 2 weeks ago, but they wanted $660 and refused to accept anything less, quote, since it impacts their lien process. I mean, we all know how important the lien process is, am I right? Jesus fucking Christ. Please help. Report me to the press. I have to get my story out because I doubt I am the only one in Contra Costa who is treated so shamefully. There are lots of anecdotes and stories, including being set up and 5150'd by a nurse practitioner I supposedly attacked. They have put me through the worst, and I seriously considered suicide more than once. Dad didn't raise a loser. He raised a daughter with the heart of a Viking. I just can't take it anymore. This is more than one person can bear. And I'm used to the weight of the world. That's tough stuff to hear, tough stuff to read. I've decided to hero tier for Venka. I'll read from the new Venka page at markromanempire.com. Hero tier for Venka. Her GoFundMe. My friend Venka Anderson, and there's links there for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you can get to know her, is going through an insanely difficult time. She suffered a stroke 2 years ago. What health care did she receive? Curious minds might suspect malpractice. Her adopted mother's caregiver for years, Venka was my colleague back in the day. She worked as operations manager when I wrote mortgage loans. Sorry about that. At Capital Market Funding in Danville, California, in the 2000s, prior to The Big Short. I'm no longer in real estate or finance, but I gave a little to Venka's GoFundMe. And I'm currently a lower-class SAG-AFTRA working artist attempting to build a podcast audience. I'm in no position to donate, but I did. Because I remember the darker times of my own struggles. I remember the strangers and people I barely knew who hero cheered for me when I was homeless and in the depths of depression. While my family and, quote, friends reminded me how I wasn't worshiping Jesus correctly, or that I was a black sheep who needed to mend his ways, or, quote, oh, the acting isn't working out, huh? Hard to hear and not helpful. I can't imagine what it's like after a stroke. Venka needs our help. Who do you know who can donate $5 or more? It's a great way to hero tier. And as we all know, you can't hero tier without her. Hey, I'd love to cut a check for 20 grand right now. I can't. What I can do is offer you extra swag if you donate. Here's how. 1, buy my $9 citation or $15 poem. 2, donate at least $20 to Venka's GoFundMe. 3, email me evidence of both. And I'll include with your $9 citation or $15 poem purchase an autographed copy of my Lieutenant Frank fire hydrant photo for free. In other words, instead of paying $34 for 2 items of my swag, you could pay only $29. And $20 of that goes directly to Venka. You'll pay a small additional fee to GoFundMe, so it doesn't come out what Venka needs. When I donated her $5, it was $1, so I paid $6 total, which works out best for Venka, kind of the whole point here. Also listed on that page are the goals, timeline, and progress made. Current priority is her storage, which, from what I understand today, will be auctioned as soon as the 14th. I'm getting more info, but my sense is that $1,000 by the 14th would be crucial to addressing Venka's storage and other needs. You know, a few days ago, I challenged those in my tiny empire to donate just $5 that day. Huge thanks to those who did donate, including former mortgage industry colleague Travis Talibas, San Francisco East Bay realtor Will Dorlick, good example for that industry, my former Diablo Funding Group colleague and now SAG-AFTRA actor Steve Tanabe, Jimmy Kimmel Live security guy and fellow SAG-AFTRA actor Liam Fountain, and previous podcast guests Ross Michael Johnson, from episode number 3, and Stephanie Estes from episode number 7. How else to hero tier? Great question. Hey, what about the number of females booked at a Hollywood comedy club on a typical night? I spoke out about that this week, but we'll have to save that deep dive for another episode. Hey, you can write the podcast at romanpodmail@gmail.com. Hey, perhaps you can be the first. Unlike that guy who's like reaching out to me on LinkedIn today trying to sell me something, and I directed him to the vendor page on markromanempire.com. By the way, one of the new things you have to do as a vendor if you want to qualify to sell me anything, you got to throw a little love to Venka. Help her out. I need to make sure that you're actually a decent human being before I will give you a dime or my business. Sorry. It's a new age, new terms. People still write me, just not at romanpodmail@gmail.com. Maybe you can be the first. This week, not enough time, kids, to highlight the Twitter posts. Just go directly to @TheMarkRoman. Check them out. A lot of stuff going on this week. Same for the Instagram, where I'm at Vegas90210. We'll throw little links, though, in the show notes eventually here. You can see me next as Lieutenant Frank at a football tailgate. There's 2 coming up on the 17th. Oh, it's an LA showdown. UCLA, the Bruins, versus USC, the Trojans, at the Rose Bowl. Oh, it's a civil war in LA. On the 18th, Chargers versus Broncos. That's always a fun matchup. You can see Hollywood Cap on Hollywood Boulevard with the Hollywood Avengers. That is, of course, Hollywood Iron Man, Hollywood Wolverine, Hollywood Spidey, along with Hollywood Cap, myself. You can listen to the podcast at Mixcloud, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube, where we are Mark Roman Empire. You can listen on SoundCloud, where we are Mark Roman Podcast. Or you can just go to markromanempire.com. That has all the links plus rolling new grooviness as it happens. My interview guest today is Alice Coe. Alice and I met on set. I'm not even sure which one. It was some film or TV acting gig up in the San Francisco Bay Area almost 10 years ago. And now we are both in Hollywood, apparently almost in the same neighborhood. I just saw Alice sing and perform in a musical in North Hollywood, Tenor of the Night, just a few weeks ago. She was amazing. We'll discuss that, and we'll just catch up with Alice Coe. There's a lot going on here in her life. Alice.
Hi, Mark.
Let's jump into your wonderland. I had to do it. You
Oh,
get that?
yeah,
You probably get that a
everybody.
lot, right?
Yes, I get that a lot.
Like since what? Like your very first memory, probably?
Actually, no. Just
Really?
like in America.
Oh, okay. Which,
Yeah.
hey, before I even get to how we met, you started out where?
Oh, I was born in Hong Kong.
And this was back when Hong Kong was under British rule, not
Yes.
currently under mainland
Yes,
Chinese rule, right?
That's right.
Okay, I might be a white guy, but I do know one or two things. So Hong Kong, we're in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been. I have no idea. So take me to school here, Alice Coe.
Hong Kong. We start school at around like 2.5.
What?
We learn our ABCs like at 2.5. So when I moved here, I already know English, but I spoke with like an English accent, and the kids were
Okay.
making fun of me.
I think I was still learning how to soil my diapers at the age of 2.
Oh, they are serious in Hong Kong. Like
Yeah, I
even
believe
before
you.
the babies were born, they were already getting forms to try to get into like a good school.
Wow. Okay, so that's not just a vicious rumor. That's actually
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
true.
And it's
Okay,
gotten worse. Like when I was a
Really?
kid, it was not
like
as
pre-birth.
bad. Pre-birth. You have like pregnant ladies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And then you were just telling me before we started about how you started playing the piano at 3, right?
Yes.
Now tell us about that. What intrigued you? Because you kind of were drawn to that. It wasn't like someone, right?
Well, I have an aunt and she's 12 years older than me.
Okay.
And I would always go over to my grandma's house for the weekend. And of course, you know, as a little kid, you see your cool teenage aunt playing the piano and then
Right.
you just want to play.
That's the
You
cool
know?
thing to do. That's what the cool
Yeah.
kids do, clearly. So,
yeah. So I asked her, can you teach me? And so she
Oh,
just like picked
cool.
me up, put me on the piano bench. This is middle C. Ding.
And you're 3.
I was 3.
Wow.
Well, we started school at like 2.5. So
Yeah.
3 is really late.
Wow. So you were a late bloomer.
Yeah,
Started the piano at 3.
I know.
What's wrong with you, Alice? Come on. Get with the program here.
Right?
That is crazy. All right. So how long were you in Hong Kong? Because
I was almost 12 when I came here.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I
so you had a
finished-
pretty good.
Yeah, I finished 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's an interesting time
it
to
is.
transition.
It is.
What was that like?
It was strange because that's the time when you are just like starting to develop like really deep friendships. That's when a
Sure.
child learns to develop a deep friendship with people, and then suddenly you're just like plucked out of your
Right.
world, and that's what it felt like. I had to make new friends. I think I was crying that I had to leave my friends in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And of course, parents don't understand. They would just
They
say,
never do.
it's fine. You're going to make new friends. You're going to make new friends. It's fine. But
And they
I-
casually
yeah.
dismiss your concerns. Like,
right.
Don't
So
worry
that's
about
what
it.
parents do. Well, it's just fair because they're not children. It's been so long since
Right.
they were children. They don't understand that children just don't think the same way as adults do. It might seem like nothing
See,
to adults.
I remember there's like a lot of visceral memories from my child. I still
Really?
like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm still like dealing with it now to this day.
You're
And I
such-
got like a 20-year-old who's like working hard to become a professor of chemistry like any moment now. And it's like he's technically in his 2nd year at college, but I think
Wow.
technically he's a junior now.
Wow. Time
Yeah.
flies.
Right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So you land in the Bay Area, right?
Well, actually, I was in Sacramento.
What? I'm from
Yeah.
Auburn, right outside Sacramento.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had family there. I have a great aunt who still lives there.
Okay.
And so that's why we moved there.
So you've been to the Arden Fair Mall and
Yes. The
Old Town
Arden-
Sacramento with that
Yes.
funny looking bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy town. It's
It-
got the state capital.
Well, it was a good place to grow up as a 12-year-old.
It was not.
because it was because
Oh, it
a
was.
lot of
Okay.
open space, and I was used to like living
Back
on
then, yeah.
on the 21st floor, all these tall buildings around me. So just to see flat land, green space, I was really
Yeah,
happy.
there's not a lot of that in Hong Kong, is there?
No, not a lot.
Because Hong Kong, it's kind of like, would it be safe to say it's kind of like Manhattan in a little bit,
Yeah.
as far as like very dense.
Yeah, I would say so. The last time I went to New York, I thought, oh, this looks like Hong Kong, but it's just in
Okay.
America.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Learned to ride my bike in Sacramento.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike all the time in Auburn. It's crazy. Crazy hills, too.
Oh, that's why I don't go there.
Now, you end up at UC Berkeley. So that kind of suggests to
did.
me that, now is that, you went there for college to the Bay Area?
Yeah, I
Or-
went there for college.
Okay. So that's what got you there.
Yeah.
UC Berkeley. And you are an SAG-AFTRA actor. You're a singer. You're a pianist. What did you study?
I studied dun 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 chemical engineering.
What? Did not see that coming.
Right?
It's funny. That's it's my son's subject. He's doing chemistry. And
Really?
he's seriously considering a double major of chemistry and biochemistry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He doesn't have to make a decision till next semester, but he's trying to figure that out.
That's
But
really
so
great.
what was the appeal to you of chemical engineering?
I wanted to be a music major, but my parents said no.
Okay.
So
This sounds
as a
familiar.
teenager who really doesn't know any better, okay, what should I pick? I'm good at chemistry. My parents are engineers. Let's put the two together. Chemical engineering. There you go.
Please the parents.
Yeah, but when I actually got into the major classes, oh my gosh, they were just so hard. I knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
I just knew it was wrong. So I had friends and classmates who helped me to get through my 5 years of college because I just could not get through my
Okay.
degree.
But you got your
for it.
degree though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But people always ask, so Alice, do you use your chemical engineering degree or do you regret any of that? Like that
Yeah.
you were not a music major, that you just wasted it? And I always tell them, I don't think it's a waste because chemical engineering is kind of how I got into the arts.
Really?
In the back or like around way. It's like when I was in school, I met this woman in my class and she was singing in a choir. And she said, "Hey, Alice, you sing karaoke. My choir teacher from Hong Kong, she is moving here to the Bay Area. We're having a choir. Why don't you join us? We're just going to take turns playing the piano and just singing, very informal." I said, okay, sure. Why not?
Nice.
So I went to this choir rehearsal at this other person's house. And everybody's like playing
At
piano,
what point was this during
singing.
school, during Berkeley?
This was like during Berkeley, or maybe like right after Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot. It's been a while.
I
Either
understand.
during or right after. And when I got to the choir rehearsal, I accompanied the choir, and then I sat down and started singing. The choir teacher said, "You just stay seated and keep singing. We have other people who can play the piano, but we need more singers."
Oh,
And that's like when I
wow.
discovered
Okay.
that, there's something there. And so I started taking
I'm not just a
voice
pianist.
lessons. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I was always in choir in Hong Kong because Hong Kong has a huge choir culture because of the Brits.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah. Everybody
Huh.
in Hong Kong sing. They sing in the choir in school.
Did you know that, Ollie? Yes, I did. Ollie knew that. Okay. Just
Yeah.
to prove to you listeners, Ollie really is British. He's not just a very cleverly talented voice talent.
Yeah. So I started singing, taking voice lessons, and that's when I wanted to become a professional singer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't you end up in the San Francisco Symphony Chorus?
I did. So
That's
living
kind
in
of
the
a
Bay
major
Area-
accomplishment.
It is. Thank you. Yeah, I was very proud of that. I sang as an amateur for a couple of years. And then I auditioned for one of the professional positions. And then I was a substitute. I was a professional substitute. So I was just like waiting and waiting for this one woman to retire. But she never did. She was really good.
Yeah.
But by the time I moved to LA, the year after I moved to LA, she retired.
Oh.
It just wasn't meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're glad to have you down here.
Yeah. I'm glad to be
now,
here.
But before we get down here, we got to talk about how you and I met, which was 8-ish years ago, I want to say. And we were trying to figure this out too. Like, was it on the Trauma set, that TV show that was on NBC for that hot minute?
We still haven't figured it out.
Because I was only in a couple episodes that were in the hospital scenes, which were on that soundstage they constructed in that shed or that huge warehouse or whatever you want to call it on Treasure Island. It was huge. I mean, it was the quality of like, I worked a few episodes of House down here, and it was like that quality.
I remember the warehouse, but I think we were just in holding.
It was like an air hangar. I mean,
that's.
I mean, like
Treasure
back during
Island.
World War II, there's literally like military. They still have like military presence there that they kind of like say, no, it's not military anymore. I'm like, yeah, right.
We probably met on set there, but
there's other stuff.
Cannot confirm.
Duo creatives popping into my head. Yeah, there's a bunch of different little productions that would
happen
throughout.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so what led you down to LA? When did you come down here?
I came
this was
down
like a couple
here.
years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I moved here officially in the summer of 2015.
Okay.
And before that, I was commuting down here for my commercial auditions.
That's how it starts. That's how it starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started commuting down here in October of 2014.
Right.
And then it just got so crazy because there were some weeks that I would be here 3 times a week.
Right.
I just tell people that, hey, I think I'm becoming a professional driver now. You drive for 6 hours, audition for 2 minutes, drive back up.
Right.
Yeah, it just got crazy.
And it's tough to audition for stuff here in LA if you don't actually live here. You kind of want to keep that close to your vest because it's like, they'll call you back or they're suddenly want to advance you in the process of casting you. And like their expectation is that you're here in town and you're like within a 30-minute to 60-minute drive to the studio. And if you're not, they're like, oh, yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah, I made it to like all of my auditions, maybe except like one or two. It was crazy because I'm just very dedicated about my work.
Clearly.
Yes. But I think eventually I booked my first commercial down in LA when I actually moved down here. Like I packed all my stuff around like April or May of 2015.
You had to make the move to get the job.
And then I booked my first commercial in June.
Nice.
So yeah, it's like the universe telling you, okay, you have to be here. I know you're trying, but I'm going to give you one more push. You move here, I give you a booking.
or the casting director had a GPS tracker on you. Who knows?
It was funny because the casting director, there was this one casting director who is both in LA and in San Francisco. And one time they kind of got confused. Wait, you're here and you're there. Are you in both places?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that can be a challenge. Now we touched on your insanely useful UC Berkeley 5-year earned degree. Let's also touch on some of your other education that to some folks might not sound so glamorous because UC Berkeley, that sounds really awesome, but is very important in the entertainment business. You've had Meisner training. Explain to those of us who don't know what that is.
Meisner training. Well, Sanford Meisner, he is...
Because there's like two big schools of thought in acting, aren't there?
Oh, you're going to ask me that. I can just like tell you what I know. Actually, I came to acting by way of singing again. I was singing in an opera one time, and I noticed the other choristers in the back, their faces were just really blank, like a blank expression. And I was thinking,
that bothered you.
Yeah, how is that going to help, the story? I know people probably might not be able to see us all the way in the back.
That's
but
so
what if
interesting.
they were just looking at us at that moment while the principal's up there just like, like really like expressive, emotive face.
And it was like an itch you had to scratch. Like it really upset you, didn't it?
It did.
See, I know I relate to this as a performer because whenever someone asks me or makes some comment along the lines of, wow, you really stay in a character, that always infuriates me because it's like, well, why am I acting in the first place? I'm not supposed to break character. Like, what's the point? And just, and then when people like try to break you out of character, I'm just like, knock yourself out, buddy. I just dig my heels in deeper and I just go even into some levels that I didn't even know existed. It's like, no, I'm not leaving this. This is who I am. I'm an actor. It's like rule number 1 of Fight Club, right? You know, rule number one of acting. It's like stay in character.
Stay in character.
And you saw that. You saw these members of the chorus. They're singing, but they look like, you know, mannequins. You're like, well, what's going on? It's little foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, yes. I see what you're
singing and acting
doing.
in production. We'll talk about that later. Listener, tag that in your brain, but we'll get back to that later.
So I got interested in acting, but it was mostly for acting for opera. They actually have a book called Acting for Opera.
Of course they do.
Yes. And so when I got deeper and deeper, I started taking classes over at ACT.
Well, that makes sense because opera it's both.
It is.
It's not opera if you don't have the acting and the singing.
It's a form of musical theater.
Definitional, yeah.
It's a form of musical theater, which is a form of theater, but only with this classical music and the voice. Right. The beauty of the voice is very important in opera, but you need the acting. So I got interested, started taking classes at ACT, American Conservatory Theater, for those who might not know.
Right. And which is a very respected acting
And theater. I met this teacher who was teaching an introduction Meisner class.
Okay.
And I felt really connected to that method of just living your reality through imaginary circumstances and all the connection with your other actor. You don't do anything. You don't do anything until the other person does something. So you're reacting.
So it's a little like improv where it's yes and.
Yes and.
Which you can't do until you have, unless you're tagged as the first one, then you establish. But yeah, with improv, it's like, I'll be like, I'm a guy at a coffee shop. I'm like, wow, geez, I got to pay $6 for a latte. And then,
yes, you have to pay $6 for a latte, and you can have a donut for another $1.
Okay, you didn't have to literally use the word "and," but yeah, right, yeah, that's the thing.
I was trying to work that in there. Can you tell?
How do I do this and say the word "and"? Because that would be so awesome.
Yeah, so Meisner
we're getting
technique.
So meta for those of you that are not into acting. All right, sorry. All right, I did cheerleader on last week, who was also a UC Berkeley grad.
Really?
Yeah, she did sociology. Vazi,
awesome.
Episode 12. So for those of you who haven't listened to it, check it out. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna check it out when I go home.
She told me it was a very unusual cheerleader interview, and she was a cheerleader for the Oakland Raiders. She was a Raiderette for 3 years, so she did a lot of interviews representing the Oakland Raiders.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what you get on the Mark Roman Empire Almost a Podcast, kids. You get comments from people that do a lot of interviews like, I've never done this one before. This was different. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was a good thing. I don't know. We'll leave you, the listener, to decide.
Good thing.
Yeah, no, she seemed to have a great time. I was really happy to have her on. We touched on some pretty interesting subjects too. So I feel like it was gave some good diversity to who we've had on and what we've discussed, the ongoing narrative that is this podcast.
All right.
Speaking of ongoing, so Meisner is you're reacting off of the other actors in the scene, right?
Yes. And there's a lot about impulses and just like connecting with your scene partner. I mean, that was like what I was missing. That the Meisner technique gave me a way to ground myself so I don't have to be in my head. Because like for actors...
Yeah, because you got to spend a lot of focus
on the
listening
other person.
And watching.
Listening, yeah.
Hard to do that when you're stuck in your own head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really helped me. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Alice. What did you say? I was thinking of something. Okay, so you did the Meisner, and then you also studied comedy. But now,
Yes.
I'm not familiar with Leslie Kahn.
Leslie Kahn
Not that I know
is,
of all the comedy teachers, but
Well, Leslie Kahn is actually a very famous teacher of sitcoms here in
Oh, okay.
LA. Yes, a lot.
maybe that's
of,
why I haven't been on a sitcom, because I didn't.
You're more a stand-up comic guy.
I started doing stand-up, but what I've been doing day to day, mostly for the last 5 years, it's essentially like a roving improv
Yeah.
performance, except my foils are not other professional actors. It's literally people on the street, complete strangers
Yeah, that must be
that
tough.
don't even realize that they're part of a production. Yeah, it's kind of, and actually, like my Lieutenant Frank character, since you also spent time in San Francisco, are you familiar with Emperor Norton at all?
Oh, I heard of that.
Okay, yeah. It was like Gold Rush times, but he was this eccentric dude back in the day. Like the classic definition of eccentric would be Emperor Norton, but he would be all dressed up. He would walk around the streets of San Francisco, not as Carl Malden, and he would hand out business cards that simply said Emperor Norton. And he had these grand tales of things that he'd done, and he just, he's very outgoing and gregarious, and had a very kind of specific, mojo of presence. So people just kind of like took, it's like he was a presence around town. Yeah, that's Emperor Norton.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody could prove anything with, but he had a really clear sense of his identity, and he kept asserting it. And there was just some wild tales. So that is kind of, I remember hearing a backstory about that, like on how things work, or it's one of those history podcasts or something. And I think that kind of got into my brain years before I actually started doing the Lieutenant Frank character.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, just the idea that, you have this ridiculous character, but they don't know they're ridiculous. They just know that, well, this is who I am. And logically, I do this kind of the same way when you looked at the actors / singers, the chorus, and you're like, why aren't they acting?
Exactly.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So sitcoms.
Yeah. Leslie, her focus is on multicam. That's what she's most famous for.
Okay.
And she has a lot of students who are
And for
series
listeners who
regulars.
don't know the difference between multicam and
Single cam. Multicam is when you have more than one camera shooting at the same time. And a lot of times is with a live studio audience with a laugh track.
I was just going to say, I've done a lot of background acting where, 2.5 Men, other shows like that, Mike and Molly. Yeah, it's
a lot of those. I think I went to a taping of One Day at a Time, the Netflix remake. It was really fun to watch the actors in action, and especially
because it's like theater.
Yeah, Rita Moreno, she is amazing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Leslie Kahn, her studio focuses on multicam and just like sitcom comedies in general. But she's most famous for multicam. It's a lot of technique. Comedy is a lot of technique. And when I went through the intensive, I just learned that, wow, you just have to be really technical to be funny. It's a
lot
craft.
of it is timing too.
It's timing.
Yeah, and it's like there's things that have to get set up, and then there's a sense of, okay, how's the audience reacting, and then giving them room for the laughter to breathe, and then just as the laughter is starting to die down, tag it with one more thing, and then another thing, and it's like, it's a real, like stand-up comics. They play all these different roles. That they are the director, they are the producer, they are the camera, they're everything. So they're figuring all that stuff out in their head, and a lot of it's just from their experience of working with crowds and different kinds of crowds for us. So often they're doing all that. But with the multicam sitcom situation, you got this huge crew, you got this huge cast, and you've got writers, and you've got all these different decision makers, and they all have to coordinate along with the unions and the studio to come down to something that actually, and often it's a week. They shoot everything in a week. A lot of times, like Friday nights, the big, studio audience scene, they'll like play back stuff they recorded during the week, and then they have the scenes that they really need the live studio audience there, and that how the audience reacts. Like that's a
Yes.
key element of the show. Without it, it's funny because you'll see a lot of shows where people think there's a laugh track, and there's really not. That's the live studio audience.
Yes.
Because I've been in that audience and I performed for that audience on a number of productions. So it's funny to see what people think is going on and
it was very interesting.
What really is going on inside the sausage factory.
Because like if a joke didn't work, the writers are all there. If a joke didn't work, the audience is not laughing, they would change that on the fly and then give the new line to the actors, and they would do it again with the new line and then to see if the audience is reacting. And if not, they're going to do it again. So the audience is very important, whether the actors get to go home or not.
Right?
Yes, it could take up to 5 hours. I think we were there for about 5 hours for that one episode, taping of one episode. Yeah.
Well, and it's not even all the scenes of that episode, it's just those scenes that are in front of
for that particular
that's the end
time,
of the week.
it was the whole
they've
episode.
done, because that was probably Friday night, right? When you did it?
I think they do rehearsals through the week, and then the night or whichever day they tape. Each show is different.
Yeah.
And then they have the audience there and they tape it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, have you been on any sitcoms yet?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not been on any sitcoms.
You have been on some pretty impressive things. But before we go on to that, because I want to kind of like wrap up the education part. Clearly, you speak English.
Yes, I speak English.
I know from your Hong Kong days, you speak Mandarin, right?
I speak Cantonese and Mandarin.
Yeah, that's right. So what's the difference?
Cantonese has, first of all, they're both tonal languages or dialects, however you want to, describe them. So Cantonese has 9 tones and Mandarin has 4. So it's really hard. So for a person who doesn't speak the language, they would think they were saying something, but they would be saying something completely different because the tone is off. So to tell you a funny story, one time we were in San Francisco, my friends and I.
Right.
And one friend, he's German, so he speaks English with an accent, and he's trying to order. He's trying to order a Qingdao beer in this Chinese restaurant. So he wanted to show off that he can speak Cantonese. So he ordered it in Cantonese.
How do you say that beer again? Because I've drank it and I realized I had no idea how to say it. Ting Dao?
That would be the English. In Cantonese, it is Ting Dao.
Okay.
So he ordered it, and then minutes go by. He's like, "Where's my beer?" Instead of beer, the waiter brought a plate of green beans. He said, "What? I did not order green beans." I was like, "Oh, sir, you did. I ordered a beer." No. We were laughing because the beer is Qingdao. The green beans was Tangdao. It is so similar.
Wait. What was the difference? I didn't hear. Sorry. Let's do this again.
The beer.
I'm a white guy. I get it.
Okay, I'll do it for you.
But slow down for me. Help me out here, Alice.
The beer is Qingdao.
Okay.
Got it. And the green beans was Tangdao. I see Ollie shaking his head. He's like, I didn't hear a difference. Yeah. So you can imagine why. You can imagine.
He would know.
He would know. So you can imagine.
He's the previous empire,
The previous
Remember
empire.
when you guys had an empire, Ollie? Too soon? Sorry. Hey, this is the Mark Roman Empire, so we got to touch on all things empire. Speaking of which, okay, so how do you, I'm not going to ask Mark Roman, but empire. That seems like a fair word. How do you say empire in Cantonese? How do you say empire in Mandarin? Not to put you on the spot.
I can say it in Cantonese for sure because it's my native tongue. I just need to translate it a little bit. So empire, I would say it's Dai Guo.
Dai Guo.
Dai Guo.
Okay.
Pretty
I think
close.
The first syllable, I think I can do. The second syllable, I think you did some crazy linguistic ninja there that I think my tongue doesn't know how to do. And my tongue's like, you wanted me to do what? I'm still trying to drink my Qingdao beer here. Okay, so once I finish the 6-pack, Professor, I'm totally down. But it's a little weird. Okay, we haven't done that before. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's weird, but we've never done it. Not here in these parts. Stuff. All right, so let's try that again. Empire in
in Cantonese. 大國.
And then in Mandarin, you got to translate it, huh?
I have to like think about it because Mandarin, I probably would skip Mandarin for now.
Now, Mandarin is like the official mainland China government language, right?
Yes.
Okay, whereas
Yes.
Cantonese is like
Regional.
more the southern.
Yeah, southern
Okay.
regional. But Cantonese actually has a longer history than Mandarin.
And it's more complex, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It actually has a
Okay.
longer history and a lot of poems, like famous poets from, I don't know, from like the past, like really, really, really far back. They wrote in Cantonese with Cantonese in mind more than Mandarin, because Mandarin actually was brought to China by the Manchurians, who were not considered Chinese because they are the invaders who came down from the north to China and created the
From
Qing
Mongolia
dynasty.
or?
Manchuria. It's different from Mongolia. Have
why
you
I'm-
seen the last emperor, like way back in the 80s or 90s?
I think I vaguely saw
That's-
once. Is
that's
that the one
like
with Tom
their
Cruise or is that
people.
one with a little kid?
Little kid, yeah.
Little kid.
Little
one.
kid.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So they actually brought Mandarin from their country or their region to China. And, they overtook
Now-
China and became the official language.
Manchurian, I do know, though, involves, depending on your time period, either Frank Sinatra or Denzel.
Denzel. Yeah.
That's
The
Manchurian,
Manchurian
right?
candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an American thing.
It's an American thing. Yeah.
All right, so to be even grossly more American, but maybe to help an American mind understand the difference between Cantonese and Mandarin, is it a little like Shakespearean English is the Cantonese, whereas like modern day English in America that's spoken is the
It's just different.
no what?
It's just
Okay.
different.
Oh, Ollie liked that I just threw America under the bus. So he's like,
It's just different.
He's
There
giving me
are-
signals, and I'm like, "What? Are we almost done?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" He's just grateful that I dissed the colonies
You dissed
while
the
in the
colonies.
colonies. Yeah, no, he's not bitter about losing the British Empire. No, not at all. Most Brits aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, there are more than 300 dialects in China.
Yeah.
So it's just a different dialect.
Okay. And
Yeah.
when did Hong Kong no longer become a British?
Oh, 1997.
Alice, I have to ask Ollie
1997.
because she's here. It's about her history. It's not about your feelings, okay?
We want everybody to be happy.
Right. 97. Okay, I remember that because that was like a big deal.
It's been a big deal.
Now, did you notice any difference?
There is a lot of difference. I'm actually going to go visit my parents who still live in Hong Kong, or they moved back to Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm going to visit them later on this month. And there is a lot of difference. And because we get a lot more, I say we, I just mean like the people of Hong Kong,
Right.
get a lot more tourists from China, whereas before there was a limitation on how many people can come to Hong Kong to visit. So they
okay.
opened up the tourism, and just a flood of Chinese tourists who are basically from a different culture, because the
Right.
people of Hong Kong basically grew up more westernized because they were open to Western media and Western culture.
Is it like
And-
people from the Midwest visiting New York for the first time, kind of, sort of, a little?
Well, maybe a little bit, even like more, because the people of China, I just don't want to talk bad about anybody.
I understand because you got to.
But the truth
we love
is,
everybody in
it's just like-
China.
it's
We're just
just, like,
trying to. Our
different.
simple American minds. We're trying to
It's just
understand.
like
here.
a different culture. They're used to the people from China. From my experience, they're very outspoken, and they would just go get their way. They don't care who is there in front of them.
Mhm.
While the people in Hong Kong, they're more used to lining up for things, and they just have to educate the tourists that, hey, you can't just like barge in front of me. You have to
Right.
go to the back of the line. They're not used to that, which
Probably 'cause
it's
they're not-
understandable, because at one point,
Not a dense population in mainland China.
at one point the country was very poor.
Even though there's a
and-
billion people there, it's just there's a lot
Yeah.
more space than on tiny.
Yeah, I mean,
Hong
if you don't
Kong,
fight
like tiny
for
Manhattan.
yourself, you're gonna starve to death. When you
It's a
think
survival
about
thing.
it, yeah, when you think about it, for countries who have gone through periods of famine and just like not so good times, you can understand why they would act the way that they do. It's not that they're
Yeah.
bad people. It's the environment has made them that way. And now, the world has changed, and somehow we have to educate them that, this is how you behave in this situation. It's just like, I'm a tourist. If I go to Europe, I go to France, I have to kind of follow their rules. This is how people behave in this situation. You can't just barge into another person's house like that, for example.
Yeah, it's about respecting the culture. So
Yes.
so if I'm hearing you correctly, the folks from mainland China, they're thinking, I'm not rude. I'm just trying to not die. Okay.
Yeah, they don't think they're being rude.
Yeah.
They're just like, I have money. I'm just going to buy this. It's like, you still have to wait in line. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Now, I do want to, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. You're acting. All right. On your IMDb, the top 3 films that you are known for.
Okay.
Kung Fu Panda 3, The Shuttle, which, when you look at the cover photo of that film, I see 2 people. I see a blurry dude, the back of his head,
Okay.
and then I see a woman in a car.
Yes.
That's like the majority of the frame. And that woman
That's me.
is you.
That's me. Yes.
I'm like, that's Alice.
Yes.
So it's pretty awesome. So are like you the star of The Shuttle?
Yes. I was the
Clearly,
star of
okay.
the Shuttle.
Nice.
Yes. The Shuttle is this short film. It's an LMU thesis film that was made at the end of 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, by Lu Han. She has since moved to Turkey to be with her boyfriend.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Great timing, too. Turkey's having a lot of fun and giggles right now.
Getting back to The Shuttle, we just won the Best Narrative Short Film at the Bushwick Film Festival. I know it's a small film festival, but we
Where is
still
it?
won. It's New York.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's cool.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're still so excited. Doesn't matter what type of film festival. It's legit.
Film festival's a film festival.
Yes.
Add that to the credits. And you were also top 3 on IMDb that Alice is known for, Silicon Valley.
Yes, I was in this past season 5's season finale.
Oh, cool.
You might not see my face because I was too busy taking away Jimmy O Yang's money in the episode.
Oh, really?
If you have seen
Okay.
Silicon Valley,
Okay.
Jimmy O Yang, he's very funny, by the way. He plays Jin Yang,
Okay.
this really douchey guy. And somehow he ended up in China in that episode. And
Oh,
I
wow.
was his
Okay.
roulette dealer. And then my line was in Chinese. I basically told him, this is the winning number. You all lose. And just like took his money. It was really fun. He's a really funny guy, really professional. Yes.
Okay, how do you say this in Cantonese?
Okay.
Sir, perhaps you'd prefer our lower stakes table.
I'm not very good at this like real-time translation. Let me think about
Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at our lower stakes table over there. Just to grab a random line from Swingers. How about this? You're so money and you don't even know it.
it. I can tell you my line in Silicon Valley.
All right, let's
Let me
do that.
say, okay.
Let's do that.
Maling, Tong Sat. So what I said was 00. You all lose.
Now, the way you said it sounded awesome. I don't think I could replicate it, even though it sounded very simple, but I feel like there's things my tongue just doesn't do by speaking some English and a lot less Spanish. And
What's a
that's
different
it.
language? You know?
I imagine there's like different things that.
Yeah, different things that you have to shape your mouth a different way. Which is kind of like singing when you sing in different languages.
When did you first start learning English?
When I was 2.5, 3. We
'Cause that
first
was
learned our
part of-
ABCs, yeah, in kindergarten, first year of kindergarten. We go through 3 years of kindergarten.
Wow,
Level 1, level 2, level 3.
that's crazy.
That's the educational system there.
I had one. That was it. And I
Yeah.
waited all the way until I was like, I think I got in early because I got in like towards the end of 5, 6. I think most people want to start it at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Kung Fu Panda 3, not to gloss over because that is your number one.
Kung
that
Fu
you're known
Panda
for.
3, I was
on IMDb.
a singer on Kung Fu Panda 3.
Oh, cool.
And there's a
you
story.
sang?
I sang in the last chorus.
Oh, cool.
When the film is finished, you have the kung fu fighting song in Chinese at the end. So there's a story to this. So I was hired by this vocal contractor. She asked my friend who was like singing in the LA Master Chorale at the time, we're looking for singers who can sing in Mandarin. So my friend thought of me. I just moved to LA. Hey, Alice, go contact her. So I did. I got hired. I was part of the group. Then we sang the chorus. We had fun. Okay, done. Just like wait for the movie to come on screen to like hear ourselves sing. So when the movie came out, I went. I saw the movie, like waiting until the very end for that song. I say, hey, how come it sounds different? It didn't sound like the same version that we sang in. So when we waited for the credits to roll by, it's like, wait, where are our names? How come all the names are Chinese? What happened? So I went home. I emailed the contractor. I asked her, hey, this is what happened. I don't see our names. Didn't sound like us. And she said, this is what happened. They recorded it. They were happy at first, but then they went to China. The Chinese counterpart did not approve of the translation of the song. So
there's
they
a lot
had
of Chinese money in that. Yeah,
retranslated on the spot, hired a choir in Shanghai, and they sang it again. They hired the same choir director, though, because he was already there. And so
we see you in the film. We see you singing.
So what happened is...
But they voiced over
they
your
just
singing
re-recorded. They just replaced our song. And so our credit became additional voices, Santa Monica. That's us.
Wow. You were all lumped together.
You were all lumped together.
Wow. All right. Well, we got a lot to cover here. I do want to touch on Exposed that you were in.
Oh,
what was it like working with Patty Jenkins?
I love her.
The director of Wonder Woman, for those of you who don't know who Patty Jenkins is. She's like the up-and-coming Steven Spielberg, period, end of story.
I worked with Patty in 2014. That was way before Wonder Woman. At that time, she has already directed Charlize Theron in her Oscar-winning performance. And, you know, I was in San Francisco. Monster. Yeah. I was in San Francisco, which still is a smaller market than LA. You know, I was mainly focusing on commercials at that time. So didn't know who's who. Walked on set. I was thinking, who is this lady? She is so present.
Yeah.
She came up to me. She shook my hand. We kind of like stared each other down. We just like looked at each other, trying to get a sense of who this person is.
Right,
who's like standing there. Is going to work with each other. And she asked me, she said, okay, this is the set. This is going to be your house. Why don't you go inside and just take a look? Feel free to make it your own, connect with your home. So I went in there. The set is gorgeous. It's not like beautiful as in it's beautiful, but I think it's very well thought out because my character was this working class woman. So the house was not like beautiful.
Right.
But I was just there connecting with my house. And then she came
Using your Meisner technique at the house as a character too.
It's like, come on,
how am I going to react out of this house?
Speak to me, laundry.
right. And what did the laundry say?
Like, yes. And
fair enough.
Yes. And we had a really quick rehearsal and she said, it's so good. Keep it. I don't want to rehearse too much. And I played 2 scenes opposite Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh, wow.
She's really cool. She's just this like really cool lady. And there's several takes. And Patty was there to inspire me to give the best performance. She's just trying to get this out of me. And then I was like, oh, I worked so hard for her. And I was really, really grateful that, that I did. And I moved to LA. I still send her gifts yearly because she's my inspiration for moving to LA. Because after meeting her and working with her.
Patty Jenkins was your inspiration.
Yes. Patty Jenkins is my inspiration moving to LA.
That's
I worked
before
with
Wonder
her.
Woman.
Before Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I worked with her and I just had such a visceral experience as an actor.
That's so cool.
This is what it could be.
Yeah.
I want more of this.
Okay.
Where do I get more of this? LA. So that's when I started thinking, okay, what's my way in? I have been a pretty successful commercial actor in San Francisco. Okay, let's go that route, get myself set up. And then I just moved here. And I saw her again at a Wonder Woman event, but it was not a screening at YouTube Space.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I saw her do a Q&A at a screening of the DGA. And
yeah, she did a lot of those back.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, oh, I would love to be in a production directed by her. I'm just like, she's a
Yeah.
powerhouse.
So I kind of like situated myself in front, hopefully that I will go up to her and say hello before all the security
Right.
like marches in.
At the YouTube
And
thing.
she
yeah.
remembered me.
Wow.
She's like, Alice, what are you doing here? Hello.
That's so cool.
And then, she came down and hugged me. And then I was with my other friends.
You're in her brain. You're in her world.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She said, oh my God, you guys, Alice, she was so good. She was so good in front of my friends in this public event. And I was like, oh, wow.
Thank
that is
you,
so
Patty
nice
Jenkins.
of you, Patty. She
That is
remembers.
awesome.
Yes. So that she's continued.
How can I get video of this to add to my reel? It's like, so what kind of actor are you, Alice? I could share, but I think I'll let Patty tell you.
That would be awesome. So
Right?
she continues to inspire me that way. That I just want to work
That
hard
is so
I can get
cool.
to work with people like her, work with her and people like her. Because it's tough here in LA.
She's
You start from the bottom
sure.
again.
Yeah.
But, there are.
And it's about
people out there.
relationships. It's about who you know.
Yes.
So, yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That makes me really happy.
I'm glad.
Now, I saw you. It was like back in, I think, September. And
Yes.
you were on stage acting and singing.
Yes.
Doing both in Tenor by Night.
Yes.
And you played the wife of the main character.
Yes, so I was the female lead, the wife of the main character. And Tenor by Night is
And your character does a lot. I don't mean to diminish it by saying you're the wife of the main. Like, that's technically true. You're
yes.
doing a lot. That character does a lot in the production.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Tenor by Night is a musical written by a Chinese American immigrant who is actually a mannequin manufacturer in Orange County.
It's crazy.
Yes, and he came from a musical family, and his father was a famous composer in China. And when I was a little girl in Hong Kong, I sang his father's songs in choir.
No kidding.
So when I found out
Wow.
that the writer-director, Mr. James Chow,
Yeah.
was a direct descendant of this famous composer, I was like, wow. What are the odds that I am auditioning and being hired in this production
Right.
by this famous musical family?
So you already had a connection there.
Yes. It's funny how things are all connected and how
Right.
the universe works.
Now, is that, do they have any plans for any future performances of that production at all? Or what's...
I know James has a very ambitious plans, but I don't know how they're going to pan out because he actually
Gotcha.
wants to take the show on tour. He wants to go all the way to Broadway.
Okay.
We will see. We will see.
He's come this far. I mean, what he's done so far is pretty impressive.
Yes, and he's like put up his own money, which is very
Wow.
admirable. It's his lifelong dream to compose and to just sing for people. It's really amazing that people can see their dreams come to fruition.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you are a union woman. You belong to both the SAG-AFTRA, but you also belong to a union that I'm not entirely familiar with, the American Guild of Musical Artists. Tell us a little bit about that.
ACMA, that is the Singers and the Musicians Union.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what does that cover? Like when
That
you...
covers LA Opera,
Okay.
LA Philharmonic, all the opera companies.
Okay.
Yes, and the orchestras.
I just saw the LA Phil about a month ago. Katy Perry dropped in. Herbie Hancock was
Oh,
there.
yeah, I saw that on your post. Yes,
yeah,
awesome.
I had an actor friend of mine who was also stage acting. Actually, I think he was he had to perform that night. So he's like, "Hey, I got 2 tickets,"
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool. Really cool. Okay, so that they're all covered, and then who else is covered? Like what other kind of work would be covered under that?
I'm not sure if the ballet dancers would be covered under that or not,
okay.
but even though technically they're not musicians, so
All right.
but musicians union.
Cool. All right. Now we are almost out of time, but I want to touch on three last things. I want to talk about
three last things. Okay.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Yay.
Me Too.
Okay.
And then whatever is up and coming here that we should know about in the world of Alice Coe, performances, appearances, events, things that, are coming up next that we should know about. So Crazy Rich Asians, what's your take on that?
It's a fantastic, fun movie. I saw it 3 times. Yes. I saw it 3 times. I think it's because...
You just went to a special screening, didn't you?
Yes, I went to a special screening the other night just this week, and most of the cast was there, and it was so fun and inspiring to see them speak. Constance Wu, Michelle Yeoh, Henry Golding, Awkwafina, Jimmy O Yang,
Nico Santos,
and also Harry Shum Jr., and also the producer, Brad Simpson.
Nice.
Yes, it was so fun.
Awesome. When I saw it, I've only seen it once in a theater. I was just blown away. Like, I thought this is a perfect date movie.
It is.
And it was just a great overall, entertaining, a lot of different layers, funny. It was just a great overall entertainment experience. A great film. And then I thought that happens to have a lot of folks who happen to be Asian.
Yes.
Like it didn't strike me as like, specifically even though obviously there's a lot of cultural influence and basis, but it just struck me as this is just a great film. And like, I want to see the next one. Like, I want to see, there's just so many crazy characters.
Yeah, there are 3 books written by Kevin Kwan. The first one is Crazy Rich Asians. He sold the rights for $1, I think. I believe it's written somewhere in Deadline. Yes, so that if the film can be made into like how it should be made.
Wow.
So you can probably expect 3 films because of the success of the first one, Crazy Rich Asians.
I want to see it.
Yes, I love the books. They are
and I want to see you
fun.
In it.
I would love to be in it.
And if they need a token white guy, hey, bring me along, Alice. All right, Me Too.
Me Too.
What's your take as a woman working in Hollywood?
I think I came to Hollywood a little bit later than most of
so you're older.
Most of the people who have been very outspoken about the movement. Yeah, but I think the Me Too movement is not just in Hollywood, it's just out in the workplace in general.
Right.
And sometimes it's not.
We pay more attention because it's the glamour of Hollywood, but it's throughout the world.
Yeah, sometimes maybe in other industries it's not as overt, but there are like subtleties of the Me Too going on in discrimination against women, that women are held to different standards. But I'm very glad that like Hollywood is bringing this out in the forefront so we can have a discussion about it.
Right.
A lot of people
it's better to put the spotlight on the issue than
a lot of people don't even
people who are in the spotlight.
Know that it's happening because I think as
guys
women,
don't know.
Guys don't know. As women, we are
as a guy. I notice I see these other guys. They're like, "What? What'd I do?" And I'm like, "Really? Seriously?"
Yeah, women are taught to be quiet and to play nice. And we're not making ourselves heard. So even when things are not right that are being done to us, we just keep quiet. And I think it's just time to be brave and stand up and say, no, you know what? This is not right. I do not deserve this. This is how I should be treated out in the world.
What can guys do to... I
think guys, they can listen. Because I feel a lot of times guys, because they don't have that experience.
Right.
And I think what you can do is like,
because it's not in our everyday. So we're like,
exactly.
That sounds nuts because I haven't experienced that. What?
Yeah, that sounds nuts.
It's easy to dismiss.
That sounds nuts. It's easy to dismiss because when you tell the story, a lot of men or guys, they would just say, really? They do not believe you. Yeah. So I would just say the best thing that a guy can do is be open-minded and just really listen to us women tell the story and listen with intent and not just like, yeah, I'm listening, but like really listen to what we have to say.
What are a few things guys can do that will help them to listen better?
Be open-minded and not just shut us down. Yes.
So if I'm a guy and I'm
Yes.
listening to you tell me a story,
Mm-hmm.
what's something I might say that to shut you down that you hear that is not helpful?
Interrupting. That's the first thing. I find as a woman, I get interrupted a lot. And another thing would be, really? That really happened? No. That kind of makes me feel that I'm being dismissed and I'm not
Right.
being believed. I'm being shut down. And at that point, I just don't want to tell you the story anymore. And I think that's like what happens a lot of times. And that's why
So they're
women
not
have
taking
been
you
like,
seriously.
yes, women have been quiet for so long because they just are tired. They don't want to deal with telling the same story and have nobody believe them.
It's exhausting.
It's
gotta be.
exhausting, yes.
Wow. Let's end on a happy note.
Okay.
What's coming up in the world of Alice?
What's coming up in the world of Alice? I'm traveling. I'm going to go to Hong Kong to visit my
that's
parents.
right.
It's
That
very
sounds fun.
exciting. And in terms of the entertainment world, I helped produce a short film. It's called, I think this is what it's going to be
You're
called.
a producer as well. You're not just an actor, a singer, a
I
pianist.
help out. I wouldn't call myself an actual, like officially a producer because a lot of work does
Do
go
you
into
have the
it.
credit of producer on this production?
I have executive producer credits. I help.
Okay, not just any producer. You're an executive producer. Okay, you're an executive producer. All right,
I'm an
look at you. You're
executive
diminishing
producer.
your own accomplishments.
I'm
You are an executive
producer on a short film called Extracurricula that is going to be entered into the HBO APA Visionary competition.
Nice.
Yes,
Good
we're
for
in
you.
post-production, so hopefully we'll make the deadline and fingers crossed. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's what's going on right now.
I feel like we covered a lot of stuff here. What do you think, Alice?
Yeah, I think so too.
Cool. There's so much more we could go into, but I feel like we got a good cursory first pass through.
Yeah. I can come back anytime for you. Mark Roman
Right.
Empire.
Right. I mean, I'm like booking, I think like in April, May now. People
That's
like don't even believe.
awesome.
Right.
Yes.
I'm so happy the people, the quality people that want to be on and have been on. It's amazing. But yeah, I even feel a little silly when people are like, yeah, I'm available next week. I'm like, I'm like booking in like springtime, almost summertime next year already.
I'll come back
You
summertime and I'll give you more
Love that.
updates.
Would love
There's like
that.
so much more that we can talk about. I just love to talk, can't you tell?
You are awesome.
So are you.
All right, Alice.
Thank you, Mark.
Alice Coe, isn't she delightful? She's so awesome. I'm really happy we got to catch up with her a little and find out some things I didn't even know. She's just an amazing artist, very talented, and I would love to be in something that she executive produces. Can I say that? I think I can say that. Also, Patty Jenkins, if you're listening, or if anyone who knows you is listening, when you book Alice Coe, don't forget, I'm a friend of Alice Coe. Show notes are at markromanempire.com for any links or other groovy stuff we might have mentioned through the podcast here. Hey, thanks to all our listeners across the globe. I see you, Pleasanton, California, Mexico, and Brazil, all on the SoundCloud. I know you guys are listening on other platforms, but I get some good metrics there on the SoundCloud. So I just want you to know, I see you. I appreciate you. Hey, Venka needs our help. Be a hero tier. To learn why and how, go to markromanempire.com and click Venka. You can listen on to the podcast on Mixcloud, Podbean, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. There's even an Apple Music hack until we get into the store. markromanempire.com, click Listen. More platforms in progress. Hey, join my mailing list, the Mark Roman Empire Census. It's how you become a citizen in my empire. Hey, sometimes we have special deals and perks for the census, the citizens. What kind of special deals and perks? Hey, whatever they may be, they are only available to those of you included in the Mark Roman Empire Census. To join the census, go to markromanempire.com and click Census. Twitter, I'm still at the Mark Roman. Instagram as ever at Vegas90210. You can email me at the podcast at romanpodmail@gmail.com. Oh, what a week, huh? Last week was a crazy week, but this week, wow. But, I feel like I'm learning how to surf these weeks a little better. I don't know. You tell me. But until next week, don't be Courtney Fast. Hey, how can you hero cheer? You can't hero cheer without her. And remember, Clownolin and Prince St. Paul. I am the Mark Roman.